Want to achieve network marketing success? Then you're in the right company. Hello, and welcome to Leave Nothing to Chance, hosted by networking marketing giant John Solleder. Learn everything you need to know about the network marketing space from somebody who's actually done it. Join us every week for front row seats as we feature some of the finest and most successful personalities in network marketing. Leave nothing to chance. Join us now.
Well, it is my pleasure to welcome another long-term friend of mine in the industry, Mr. Keith Hooper, to today's podcast. Keith, how are you?
Good, John. Thank you for having me.
And I got to tell you, I'm envious of that background, which I believe is going to be your new locale in Idaho.
That is that's not a bad view to wake up to in the morning when we get the house built up there.
What mountain chain is that, by the way?
That's the Cabinet Mountains.
Okay, very beautiful.
On the eastern side of the Panhandle of Idaho, the Upper Panhandle, about 30 miles south of the Canadian border.
Nice, very pretty. So anyway, Keith, how long have you been in the network marketing industry?
Was introduced to the network marketing business industry in 1989, and had a brief foray in 1985, 1986. Didn't have much success with it, John, and then so this really isn't for me. But then in 1989 was introduced to another opportunity, and really it was the fact of the business concept that really attracted me. The concept of the ability to harness the time and talents of people who were upline in the network and let them help me succeed. And that's what really attracted me. And the fact that you didn't have to have employees.
Well, yeah, because you knew something about having employees, I believe. You had run some pretty big cattle operations and alfalfa operations. And what else were you involved with in the agriculture world?
Well, at that time, we were the largest exporter of alfalfa in the world to Japan. We had a trucking company, a fertilizer company, irrigation supply company. We were farming about 5,000 acres, 140 employees. And if you want to have a problem, just add another one. So, had that concept of what employees meant, and the idea that, the limiting factor to your success is the people that you can afford to hire. That limits you. If you look at the Walmart family, arguably the wealthiest family in the world, and you look at their success, it's because they benefit off of the leverage of 1.4 million people that work for them. And, it's that leverage. Albert Einstein talked about, one of the marvels of the world is compound interest. Well, I would argue that it's compound effort and that's where network marketing really got my attention all those years ago in 1989.
And the business made sense to you. And I know you had a great mentor. You want to talk about him a little bit?
Yeah, the mentor was Bob Schmidt. And that was where I went to that first meeting. The product from that particular company intrigued me. And a friend of mine drugged me off to a meeting where I met with Bob, who met him for the first time. And we went on to become great friends over the years. And it was the fact where Bob was talking about leveraging time and talents of people you never afford to hire. And that was not just the downlines, it's the uplines, which is one of the things that happens in network marketing that people fail to use, is it's harnessing the time and talents of the uplines. But Bob laid out the scenarios of how you could build that business, how the fact that you didn't have to have the employees, you didn't have to have the inventory, you didn't have to handle the credit cards, you didn't have to have all these things, that I had an office staff of 5, okay, that, were non-productive as far as income to me, but an expense that I had to have. And so when I looked at that, I said, this makes a lot of sense. And so that's what attracted me originally to that concept. But then I went through a number of years running from frustrated to mad, okay, in network marketing, which I think most people do, because it's interesting. You're talking to people and they don't listen. They hate their job. They hate their boss. They hate where they live. They hate where that they can't afford to take their family on vacation, but they don't have time to listen to you. And that was very, very frustrating. And that was the first 5 years in network marketing, was running through that frustration.
And, Keith, I know you were exposed to a lot of great self-development information when you got in the industry. And I know recently you've been part of the new book called Leave Nothing to Chance. I know you also were my co-author with Moving Up 2020. So I know familiar with some new books that have come out. So let's talk about that a little bit. In the book, Leave Nothing to Chance, there's 15 principles. Which of those 15 grabs you and why?
Well, as I'm holding the book here and you're looking at them, John, all of them apply. That's the point that I think is so interesting, and I think most important is leading with integrity. Principle number 12 is staying in integrity. Okay. And I think that is so important because in today's world we live in, people are out of integrity all of the time. All you have to do is turn on the television or the radio or go to the internet and you see people that are out of integrity and you know it and they know it. And because of that, you're not willing to accept it. So if you're out of integrity, when you're sharing your opportunity, your concept of why somebody would join you, you have to be in integrity because one of the things that I learned from Bob is there's really only one reason for somebody to join you in a network marketing opportunity. There's not a second, there's only one. And that's because you can help them accomplish something they can't do on their own. And that's why that leading in integrity, principle number 12, John, is so important.
And Keith, I know now being in the industry for a long time, you've been exposed to a lot of great books and works. And I know you're a voracious reader. We talk about this quite a bit, but what was that first book that you had that aha moment when you read it and when?
Well, it was interesting because everybody thinks that reading is something that you enjoy. I'm not somebody that really enjoys reading per se. It's just I can't get the authors to come to my house and tell me what they put in the books. Okay, I keep inviting them. But actually, I was very fortunate when I was about 19 years old that I went to a Dale Carnegie course, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And, some people that know me well say they're not sure I ever read that book. But, we went through that process. And I think that's important. And I think it's important for people to understand, read eclectically, read not just down one particular path. Every day on the internet, a couple things pop up. And if they're outside of what I normally read, I say, let me just check that out. And you'll find some very, very interesting things, as well as the books that you read. Okay. Charlie Tremendous Jones, Tracy Jones, our friend that publishes Leaving Nothing to Chance and our other book is, the point that Charlie said, you'll be the same 5 years from now as you are today, except for the people that you meet and the books that you read. Well, the good thing is you can get the books. You can go to Tremendous Leadership, get the books, and I suggest you start with the little ones. And then network marketing allows you that opportunity to meet people that you're not going to meet in your normal, in the lives of somebody that has a normal job. Okay, because they're just not going to be exposed to that kind of things. And we talk about it, John, that your income is the equivalent of your 5 best friends. So if you take your income and the 5 people that you hang around with, add them all together, divide it by 6, and that'll be about your average income. What I'm really going to say that's most important is if you take your 5 or 6 best friends and add the attitudes together and divide it by 6, that'll be the attitude of your life. And that attitude of your life will determine your actual success. People that have the proper attitude, Zig Ziglar, your attitude controls your altitude. Okay. So once again, back to the point of who are you hanging around with? Who are you spending time? Well, that's one of the beautiful things in network marketing, because in my agribusiness world, okay, pretty limited as to who I'm going to hang around with. Okay. You go to the bankers that you deal with. Okay. They're not the most joyful people sometimes to deal with. You're dealing with suppliers. They're not the most joyful to deal with. You're dealing with customers. Those are never joyful. Okay. And so you have that environment. Network marketing allows you to choose who you spend your time with. And that's not afforded to most people in most of their businesses that they have. If you're a dentist and somebody makes a dentist appointment and that person comes in and sits in that chair, you don't have much choice. Okay. That's a patient. And you got to deal with them. If somebody walks into a hair salon to get their hair cut, okay, you don't have a lot to do with that. If somebody walks into a real estate office and you're a real estate agent working for a broker, you don't have a lot of choice of whether or not you work with that person. Network marketing affords you the luxury of choosing who you get to work with. And I think that's oftentimes overlooked.
That's a good point. Very good point. So let's stay on the self-development for a minute. and I know you've read a ton of books. If you were stuck on that mountaintop behind you and they said, okay, Keith, you can go up the mountaintop, but you can only bring, in addition to your Holy Bible, you can only bring 3 other books with you, what would they be?
Well, I've got to say that right now, and this would be if we're gonna go right now, because if you're going to be on that island, you're probably going to argue with some people. Okay, even if you're there by yourself. And the book by Jerry Spence, How to Argue and Win Every Time. Okay, very good book. The other one and I'm only looking at the books that I've just recently read, but it doesn't hurt to ask by Trey Gowdy. Okay, those are powerful books. And then as I'm looking at the ones that I haven't gotten to yet, okay, and it's kind of interesting. I got Jim Rohn's The Passion of Life, and I'm sure I read that book, John. And this is one of the reasons that I'm really an advocate for getting the paper books, getting the actual books, and learning the process of how to read. And people say, what do you mean learn how to read? Read it with a highlight. Highlight the book as you read it of the things that are important to you so that you can come back to it. And here's what's most important is my great grandchildren will be able to pick up these books and look at the notations and the things that I highlighted in them, knowing what I thought was important. Okay. And, I think that's why, I've got that book, and then Thou Shalt Prosper by Rabbi Daniel Lapin. That one's come in. I haven't got to it yet, but, oftentimes people say, I'm not a good reader. Well, I wasn't a good reader either. Okay. I mean, it was kind of fascinating when I was about 10 or 12 years old. My parents were somewhat concerned that I was a very slow reader, and they sent me to a summer reading program. And it taught me how to speed read. And I would suggest that people spend, an hour or a couple of hours a day for some time. In fact, there's something going on that causes people to spend a lot of time at home right now. There's something going on, and invest in that speed reading. Okay, because it's interesting on how you learn it. And there's a couple of different techniques, and it'll allow you to go through the things and read the things that are interesting to you to expand who you are. Because the other thing that I learned from Bob Schmidt that we were talking about earlier is you'll never earn more money than the value you bring to the marketplace. Mm-hmm. And you'll have instances, we all hear the stories of somebody that got lucky and whatever, but the reality of it is they end up losing it and it goes away, and and everybody say, oh, well, for them. Well, no, they never really brought the value to the marketplace. So that's why it's so important to invest in yourself. Buy the real books. There's this book over here, Leaving Nothing to Chance, but read it with a highlighter. Highlight it. Read the stuff that's important. Highlight it. Make notes in it, and then don't loan it out. Don't loan books. Buy books. I buy books. That's, I think, is a great deal with Tracy, what she has with tremendous leadership, is buy those little books. We were talking about Acres of Diamonds. We were talking about, how important that book is. We were talking about, a number of them there. But get those books and spend some time. Read them. Okay. The good news about them is that they're easy to acquire and easy to do. The sad news is most people don't do it. They won't spend that 20 minutes, 30 minutes, in reading the book. That's why I'm fascinated. I guess, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, it occurred to me that I'd never read the Bible. Okay. I read the Bible, as most people say, they read the Bible, but they didn't start at the index and go to maps. Okay. They didn't read it all the way through word for word themselves, but they have a great opinion about it. Okay. That a lot of people have a great opinion about what the Bible says, but they never actually read it. And I found that fascinating. I said, well, I'm not going to be one of those. And if you want something that's going to take some time, that's not a fast read, by the way. But it really is interesting when you read it. Just a suggestion on the Bible when you read it. It's an operator's manual. It's a human operator's manual on how to operate your life. So, once again, we're looking at self-improvement. If you don't have a book in hand, most people have access to one of those. Start there.
You're making a great point, and it's a point, our mutual friend Dan McCormick always says, you don't read a book, you study a book. And, you study the Bible. And we always use that terminology, growing up, going to Bible school, you study the Bible. So why would you read a book? You study a book the same way. And when you highlight it, to your point, you come back and you go, hey, this book's 200 pages long, but there's, 8 real earmarks here of stuff that I really thought was relevant that you can go back to 5, 10, 20, 30 years down the road and see again. I kept the first self-development book I ever read was by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, who I know you're a big fan of. And I was 17 years old. I still have the book. It's very aged, but it's got my notes in it from when I was 17, what I thought was important at 17. And here I am, about to be 60. So let's move on, Keith. Let's talk a little bit about multi-level. 2 questions. Okay, let me set up the one for you. There are 2 very specific groups of people. And they kind of crisscross each other in a way, but there's 2 very specific groups of people right now that I think perhaps never would have, under normal circumstances, considered network marketing as at least a plan B, right, to go along with whatever plan A is. And here's the 2 groups. The first group are the 25-somethings, right? They're 25, they're 28, they're 23. Perhaps they have a college education and a piece of paper that says that they know something. And they're living on mom and dad's couch right now because not a lot of opportunity out there in bricks and mortar, et cetera, et cetera. Companies aren't hiring because of the pandemic, et cetera, et cetera. And they have a lot of skills. They know how to work the iPhone. They can launch a space shuttle with the iPhone if they needed to, right? They know what all those apps on the phone do that. I don't know if you know what all yours do. I have no idea what half the ones on my phone are for. I have to ask my 17-year-old what they're for. Okay, but there's that group, right? There's a very specific group. Let's just call them young folks. And then there's that second group who are kind of our age. They're in their late 50s, maybe early 60s, maybe even 70s for that matter. And everything was going along well. Perhaps they owned a brick and mortar business. Perhaps they worked in a brick and mortar business and they did well. Maybe they were senior level management. And they were looking, hey, I'm getting to the end of the road here work-wise. And they were looking forward to retirement a couple of years back. And then bam, pandemic happens. And maybe they're still even employed, but their income is not going to be anything close to what it once was in most businesses, in most instances. And they're saying, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm still going to go with the retirement plan down the road. Right now, I'm going to continue to try to work and eke out a living. And you know what? Maybe I should get into one of those network marketing businesses and take advantage of the thousands of people that I've gotten to know through the years and see if I can find a product or a service that fits my likes and something I'm going to be comfortable marketing. So we've got those 2 groups of people. And where they intersect, I think, is that we could probably call that same age group 42 or 72, and it's probably about the same. But at the end of the day, those 2 groups of people walk into your office today, maybe a dad and his son, maybe a grandpa and his son, and they walk in and they say, okay, Keith, why network marketing now as opposed to, let's say, 2 years ago?
Okay, well, let's take the kids that are graduating out of college. Happen to have 2 grandchildren graduating next month. Okay, and my granddaughter finished the University of California, went through one of the university schools, graduated in 3 years. Over at 4 point something another. I don't know how you get above a 4.0 because I'm old. I don't know how you do that, but that's what her deal is. She's been accepted at Boston University Law School, but she can't find a job. Okay, because she's only going to be here temporarily until she goes to Boston University Law School, or she's got a couple of other schools as well, but she can't get a job. So you look at that opportunity from there. My grandson, my son's son, graduating from Fresno State with a degree in business and finance. Okay, and hasn't found a job yet. Now obviously working with within the family business, but we want him outside. We want to toss him out into the real world for, at least a few years. But so if you look at them and you're looking at network marketing, what does it afford them? And I think one of the key things that it's going to afford them is that knowledge. Robert Kiyosaki talked about in his Rich Dad, Poor Dad series. Okay, once again, back to these doggone books, and I could never get Robert. I went to see Robert Kiyosaki speak at a small event and had the opportunity to meet him. But you can keep inviting him for dinner and they never show up, so you got to read the books. But he talks about the value of network marketing and the skill sets that you develop. And those skill sets are transferable into your other businesses. My son has never been involved in network marketing. Okay. But the skill sets that he picked up hanging around with his father, okay, and the people that I introduced him to has allowed him to take that skill sets and become very successful. And he's very successful in a number of businesses that he has that are in the finance world primarily and the brokerage world, but it allows him to do that. So that's why you want to look at this. The thing I would say with what I refer to as the Gen Zs, okay, the Gen Xers and the Gen Zs, is find the key point language that applies to them so that they're open to hear what you have. If you're going to talk to them about the way we joined network marketing 30 years ago, they go, I'm not interested in that. But if you can show them how the technology allows them to leverage the same things that we did and still do today, but using technology to do that. So once again, when you're talking to the Gen Xers, the Gen Zers, and most importantly, to the mom and dad and the grandparents that are footing the bill, okay, you want to talk about the transferable skills that they're going to learn in network marketing that they're not going to learn anywhere else. They're not going to learn the art of asking questions. They're not going to learn the idea of, look, talk to someone, ask the person asking the questions controls the conversation, just like you're doing here. The person asking the question controls the conversation. If you ask the right questions, the people will give you the details that you need in order to present your opportunity to do that. With the people that are coming up on retirement, that's a scary world, man. That is a scary world as I'm looking around to my friends and family that are coming up on that retirement world that had what they thought was a plan. They thought they had a plan. And what they've seen is that the world has destroyed that plan. Because one of the things that I recognize, I'd like to say I'm smart. That's not the case. I just happened to, because of all the eclectic stuff that I read, that you come across with it, that the only way you're not going to outlive your money is by having a business that continues, and to build a business that continues whether you're there or not, whether you're actively managing it or not. That allows network marketing to take advantage to do that. And I would say to the people that are coming up on retirement that they have if they're coming up on retirement, they know the word Rolodex. So they have a Rolodex of great contacts. So the idea is to talk to those contacts in a way of, I don't want you to buy anything. I don't want you to sell anything. I just want you to know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And if it's for you, we can have a great conversation. Okay. And go through that context. The idea that I learned from Bob, I'm looking for the people that are looking for me. Looking for the people that are looking for me. I'm not in the selling business. I'm not in the convincing business. We can't convince people to exercise. We can't convince people to read good books. And we sure as heck can't talk somebody into starting their own business that'll set them free financially through network marketing.
So let's ask another network marketing question. You've got a very large network in the company that you're in. You've been at it, I know, for a quarter of a century with one company, which is admirable to say the least. Most people skip around a lot in our industry, and they're generally not the people who make the most money. But having said that, you've been doing what you've been doing for a long time. You've been very, very consistent. You've hosted a call every Wednesday night, I think, for 21 years, 22 years?
Something like that. Long time.
Long time. So you're a model of consistency, which I think is part of the reason why you've been successful. Now, having said that, over those 20 plus years, plus the prior years that you were working with Bob, going back to 1989, so we're talking 30 plus years now, you've started a lot of people in the industry. What's the best plan to get them started? Is it, in your opinion, is it 24 hours, 48 hours, 1 week? What kind of goals do you set with them? How do you work with them? How do you lock arms with them to get them moving forward so that they see some results, so they stick around long enough to give themselves a chance to succeed?
Well, once again, going back to my friend Bob Schmidt, okay, he had a something that he lived by. Don't get one if you're not going to help them get one. Don't sponsor somebody if you're not going to help them sponsor somebody. Okay, so the idea is when you sponsor somebody, before they ever sign up online, before they ever sign the document at the old Denny's scenario at the coffee shop, before they do that, who are we going to talk to? Who do you want to be in business with? Who are the 3, 4, 5 people that we're going to talk to immediately? Key word is we, not you, we. We're going to have a conversation with them. We're going to have the things, because going back to that point of network marketing and getting people started right, making sure they know who the uplines are, making sure that they know who the talent is that's there. You know, the limiting factor, once again, to any business is the talent that you can afford to hire. Well, you have, in most instances, you've got a pretty good group of upline that are successful. Find out who they are. And then my job as a new distributor, when I'm talking to somebody in the business, is let somebody else do the talking. And I think that's one of the things that has happened within network marketing, is too often people join the business and then go off on their own. And they don't work with their uplines. They don't work with that person. And so when you start somebody, you know, once again, the process never fails. This is what I love about network marketing. If you sponsor somebody and you help them sponsor somebody, what do you do then? That person that you help them sponsor, you work with that person to help them sponsor somebody. And so it's the old adage, you know, if you take what's the best way to keep a nut on a boat? Put another nut behind it. By the time you put another nut on, and you put a third, a fourth, a fifth nut on that bolt, you can't take that top one off. You know, we have conversations where we laugh. You know, when you have an organization and you're working on your third, fourth, fifth level, okay, and I mean in a support level, at that level, you're supporting them in whatever. I'm often tickled because no matter what happens, the people between you and the people that you're affecting on your fourth or fifth level can't quit. Even if they want to, even if they don't like you, they can't quit. Okay, because they're locked in, because nobody walks away from equity. Nobody walks away from equity. When you look at people that are in network marketing that quit, it's because they're not making any money. They don't have any equity in the situation, the things that have gone on there, because that has not been developed. You know, and so when getting people started and getting them started right, and what you're looking for is people who make up their mind quickly and change it very slowly. People that make up their mind quickly, but they change their mind very slowly. That was Milton Hershey, okay, was noted for that. But so when you're looking at that, so getting people started is, you know, that's on you as the sponsor. Who are we going to talk to? Because if you wait until you sponsor them, okay, and then try to find out who you're going to talk to, it's not going to happen. The other thing is, don't do anything that would cause them not to introduce you to your family and to their family and friends. Okay, if you're having difficulty getting somebody to connect you with their people, it's because you did or said something that made them uncomfortable, and they don't want you to do that to their family and friends. So there's a lot of nuances in this idea of how you do this, but you're looking for people who are looking for you. When you sponsor somebody, the idea is immediately within the next 24 to 48 hours, help them sponsor somebody. You know, easy to say, John, but it's very easy for us, you know, as you've been in this industry for a long time, the key word is lazy. We get lazy about it. You know, we go, well, they can do it. The technology's there. They can bring them to this, or they can do that. And it really doesn't happen. Okay. And, you know, and network marketing is a self-weeding garden, you know, and in the 3 companies that I have been in, okay, what's interesting is over the period of time, my uplines all quit. The people that I was such a powerful force that my sponsors quit. You know? So once again, that's one of the things that's a beautiful thing about network marketing. Okay, is you're looking at this as at a long, and look at it as long term. I think that's one of the things about being in agriculture. You know, we plan out 5 years in advance. You know, some of the stuff that we're doing now with some permanent crops, we're looking out 15, 20 years. Okay, decisions that are being made today and how they affect 20 years from now. In network marketing is the same thing, and that compound effect of interest that, you know, Albert Einstein, you know, one of the wonders of the world, and it's the compounding effect of the network. You know, in the first year, maybe you're going to make a couple $100, you know, a month. There's always the exceptions that everybody wants to lead to. But the reality of it is it's going to be a few $100. Maybe it's $1,000, $1,500. Second year, compounds. You got more people joining. Maybe you make them $4,000 or $5,000 a month. Year 3 is when your business starts to produce, just like if you plant an almond crop in California. Third year, okay, you're going to start to get a crop. Same thing in our business here. First 1, 2, 3 years, you're going to put some effort in. You're going to say, well, I'm not so sure about this, okay, but I know it's down the road, it's going to be there, just like that almond crop. Okay, 3 years, you're going to start production, and it's the same thing here. And the key to it is to ask yourself I suggest a weekly basis, what would you pay someone for what you did last week in your network marketing business? What would you be willing to write a check to somebody? If you were hiring somebody to do what you did, what would you pay them for? Okay. And continue through that process. And I still do that today. What would I be willing to actually pay somebody to do what I did last week? Okay. And I think that keeps us in the deal, and understanding it's not us. It's a team of people, and our job, like we were talking, my job is very simple in my organization, simply to stand in the back of the room and applaud. Okay. And recognize those that are doing the things that are driving the business today.
What's interesting about what you said about agriculture is you have a very almost contrarian thought process in your career in network marketing than a lot of other people do. That something's not happening quick enough, they quit and they move on to the next thing and they try to take all their people. You haven't done that. You've been at the same company for 25 years. Talk about that a little bit without talking about the specifics of the company, perhaps, but just some of the ups and downs that a lot of other people may have cut and ran and said, hey, the grass is greener, where you've chose to stay, and now you've been well rewarded for it, and you continue to be well rewarded for it now. But in those 25 years, I'm sure there were a lot of times when you said, hey, why bother? It's not going the right way, or management's not doing what they need to do, or whatever the circumstances were. But you stuck it out, and you continued to build despite perhaps some times when others would have chosen to do other things. So let's talk about that a little bit, that longevity and that stick-to-itness that you've had.
Well, one of the things that you look at in any business is, what is your long-term plan? What is your 1-year plan, 3-year plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plan? What is it? And then what is the responsibility of the network marketing company? Okay, the company that you're representing. Their job is to ship the product or service and make sure they pay you on time. That's what they are. They're simply no different than when we were in our agribusiness. And like in the fertilizer business that we had, okay, was the rail cars arriving on time with the fertilizer? Did we have the truckers there to pick it up and move it? That was all they could do. After that, it was up to us to do what we needed to do, okay, to make it happen. And it's the same thing in network marketing. If the company is paying you on time and they're shipping the product on time, okay, that's where they end. Because if they could do what you do, they wouldn't need you. Okay, if they could connect and build a network, they wouldn't need you. And that's why they need you. That's why network marketing is flourishing right now, is because it's the contact capital of the people. So the business is yours. It's not the company. Okay, the company's job is to produce the product, make sure the checks are on time, do all the stuff that they do, and everything else that they do is a benefit. Okay, it's an ad. Look at it as an added benefit, because if you go back 25 years ago, and anybody that's been in network marketing for many, many years, when they started with a company, what was there? There was a product. There was the fact that the company was going to pay. They were going to handle all of that, and you had maybe some kind of little marketing stuff that went with it. But the idea was you were the storyteller. Okay, and that hasn't changed in 25 years. Now, obviously, in the 25 years, you have management that changes in 25 years. In our case, or the company I'm with, the ownership changed and all the things that were there, and they were good. But there were periods of time where the company itself was, less than spectacular. Okay, and to your point, people became frustrated and walked away. Well, the idea was they didn't own their own business. There was a point that called the Me Corp. Okay, and you own your own corporation. You are the CEO. You are the head of marketing. You are the head of recruiting. You are the head of all these, because this is your business. So if the product is good and the checks are on time, as long as the management, kind of stays out of the way, that's a great thing. And I think that that's one of the things that happen in network marketing. People joined the business and they want somebody else to do it. They want the company. Where's that marketing piece from the company? Where, well, if those people knew what to say and do, they'd be doing what we do because we make a lot more money than they do. Okay. So if they knew what to say and do, they wouldn't have their jobs. They'd be doing what we're doing. And I think that that's so important, and that consistency of time and effort. And people going from deal to deal to deal. Okay. I mean, that is the part that I think is such a tragedy. Okay. I have a friend of mine that has probably been in 25 deals if he's been in one. Okay. And every time there's any kind of little hiccup, he's off to the next deal. He's off to the next deal. Well, he's a year younger than I am. Okay. Still trying to work in an industry that he hates. Okay. That they're not going to continue his employment, but he can't afford to retire because he kept going from deal to deal to deal to deal. He never built that long-term residual income that I think people often look at. When somebody looks and say, okay, well, Keith, you've been here with this company for 25 years. Why is that important? Because that check will continue to come when I'm not here. Okay. The structure of our business, the structure of what we've done, the income will continue to flow to my wife if I go before she does, which is more than likely because, she's a kid compared to me. And it'll stay here and still be here for my children and hopefully my grandchildren, because there's stories of that, John. There's people that are still getting checks from companies, that were the grandparents started were joined in the 1940s and 1950s. But those distributorships continue today. And I think that that's often overlooked, and it's overlooked the value that you're building. Okay, the equity. You're building equity in the business because you own it. Okay, so you can will it, you can sell it, you can transfer it. There's all kinds of things you can do. And I think it's important to look at that when you're looking at your portfolio of investments that are there, along with a lot of other things, that we talk about on a lot many times.
Well, you're making a very valuable point. This is a generational business. You build it, and when you're not here anymore, it goes to your heirs. No different than if you owned a franchise. No different if you owned a car dealership. No different if you owned any kind of a traditional business. As long as it was functional, it passes on to your heirs, and it's amazing. And I think I've shared this with you, Keith. I was doing a consulting job for one of the older companies in the industry a few years back. Matter of fact, you and I met for lunch a few times when I was doing some work for this company. And I went to their annual convention. They had a new owner, and I went to their annual convention, and I sat at a table. Nobody knew me. I was there at the owner's guest, and I just needed a place to sit to eat dinner. So I sat down with some lovely folks that were a little bit older than we are now even. And the one couple shared with me that they started to earn a check in that company in 1959. And I was born in 1961. And I don't know if those folks are still living or not, but what's going to happen to their business or did happen with their business? Well, either their kids have it or their grandkids have it. It's a company that's gone on, for many, many years. And we're seeing more of that as more companies mature, stay in business long term, that, there's this generational income, maybe it's not wealth, but income that's passed along to the next generation. So you're making a great point. So Keith, in closing, we have a mixed audience. We have new people in the industry to listen. We have people like ourselves that have been doing this for a long time. We have everything in between. We have people that are listening in different markets, different countries, even in they're listening in English, of course, to us talk, but even people who speak other languages primarily that are listening and gaining from this. Your last advice to those people listening: why should they go out, build a network marketing company today? Get themselves active. Why should they do that? Why should they take that immediate action?
Because it's a level playing field. Network marketing is one of the few businesses that's a level playing field. Doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter what your education is. Doesn't matter what the zip code is. Doesn't matter. None of that matters. All that matters is you. And it's the only business that is a true level playing field. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. That just doesn't care. And that's a unique opportunity that we have. And what's the beautiful thing about this is it's equal around the world. Doesn't matter where you're at, if your company's doing business there, it offers that same equal opportunity around the world. And that's truly unique. And a lot of people are looking for that. And particularly when we're looking at the Gen Zs and the Gen Xs, okay, is they're looking for something that'll make a difference. And there's few things that you can do in life, business-wise, that you can impact the lives that you can touch as you do in network marketing. So I would encourage everybody to take the time, do your due diligence, do your research, and, make a decision to join, and be very, very careful about changing it.
Great. Well, we've certainly seen the benefits. So continued good success, continue on building your new home there in Idaho. I can't wait to see the finished product, but that back window you'll look at, those mountains, I'm envious of. So certainly enjoy that. And thank you once again for your leadership in our industry, and 25 years. Congratulations. I know that's going to be celebrated by your company in a few short months. So congratulations on that. And thanks so much. So folks, in closing, this is John Solleder. The show is called Leaving Nothing to Chance. It airs on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, and a number of other podcasting networks. Every Tuesday, we have a new show, 52 weeks a year. So you're going to hear right here a lot of information. A lot of our questions are based on the book called Leave Nothing to Chance that you can get from Amazon. The name is a little different than our show. Leaving Nothing to Chance is the name of the podcast. Leave Nothing to Chance is the name of the book. And our other great book that I co-authored with Keith, Moving Up 2020, is a book that you'll want to pick up as well. And to Keith's point, get these books, make them your own, mark them up, get the hard copy, get the copy that you actually can get in there and make notes. Okay to read it on Kindle too if you want to do that. But at the end of the day, I would always suggest that you get the actual copy of any book, whether it's ours or anybody else's, so you can make those notes. Very valuable points by Keith Hooper. Keith, once again, thank you so much for your time today, and continued good luck.
Thank you for having me, John.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Leave Nothing to Chance. If you want to know more about what it takes to succeed in the network marketing space, join us again next week for another amazing episode. For additional resources and to connect with John Solleder, visit leavingnothingtochance.com. Don't forget to leave a review, and we'll see you next time.